This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stellas. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday evening as we talk about the issues that are important to the businesses out there today. What's Working with Cam Marston is designed to find the people with the trends or the insights on the trends that are shaping the workplace, the marketplace, and the workforce. Trying to find people that can talk about these things in such a way that something they say, the trends that are impacting their own business, will help you in some way or another as you work within your own workplace, workforce, and your marketplace. Again, thanks for joining me. This is going to be a controversial show, and I'm going to say that right out of the gate. And you're going to hear me and my guest kind of tiptoe and apologize as we go through this, fearing dropping, as we begin calling them, landmines throughout the show. I recorded the show already, and my guest is Blair Fisher. I'll tell you about Blair in a moment. But I recorded it already. Usually I like to record the introductions and then the show in order that you hear it. But not knowing exactly how the show was going to go, I recorded it already. And you're hearing me warn you about what we are about to get into. Here are the details. There is a crisis in young male education. They are falling behind at a much more rapid rate than females. And it's not driven by ethnicities or minorities or anything like that. It's across the board. The boys aren't learning. The boys aren't performing. And I heard this the other day when I had John Hoyle with the Alabama School of Math and Science say, somewhat in an offhand comment, we are doing well, we've got a student enrollment of this and that and this and that, but we'd sure like more boys to attend our school. Well, I'm going to relate as we get into the content after this next break, something that I saw at my own children's school, which emphasized the same point. The girls were doing so much better than the boys. And it alarmed me. What's going on out there? Now, for a long time, I've worked with my financial services clients to say, I think the future of wealth building is in the female. And if you've got, let's say, an hour's time to network, spend 70% of that hour focusing on young females versus young males. They're doing the things needed to save money and to build affluence at a younger age. And we'll get into that again in a moment in a different way. But we're seeing a really shocking lack of aggressiveness towards academics in the male population, not in Mobile, not in the school where my kids attend, but across the nation. And we're going to talk about what this is and why it is and where it's come from and all this kind of stuff with Blair Fisher in a moment, and I'll give you a little bit more detail about him. The reason this is significant for this show is obvious. These kids, these young men, and currently, adults, this has been going on for 20 some odd years, are in the workplace, showing a lack of aggression towards academics and are being passed by their female colleagues and counterparts. And let me be clear, and this is why this show can lean towards controversy. My intent is not to make the male superior or wonder why the male is no longer superior. My intent is not to diminish the efforts of the females, by no means. My hope is that the pendulum is centered so that when we see the kids going off to college or whatever it may be, half of them are male and half are female, because it's skewing way, way towards the females right now. So this is not an attack on one gender. This is not saying the other gender has been subjugated by trends or whatever it may be. That's not it at all. I want to know what's going on. Now, I'm I'm the father of two young men, two young boys, both teenagers, and I see it in my own home. And so my goal is to understand the roots of where this comes from and what the implications may be. It is not to say one group should be dominant. And as I even talked about this show concept with my wife, she said, well, you guys are trying to sound like the victim after the female has already been the victim for centuries. And I said, listen, it's not about who's the victim. It's about what's causing this. What's going on? We're going to talk about the lack of male aggression towards athletics. Sorry, step back. The lack of male aggression towards academics and what its implications are for you, me, for our workforce, and maybe even the future of this nation. Now, when we talk about financial services, and that's always been such a big part of my client base, and the rise of the female influencer in the financial services space, she's generally going to be head of household, is my prediction, head of the purse strings in the household in the future. I can't help but think about my buddies, Mark Salyers and Jamie Sandifer at Sandifer Wealth. If you're the type of person who saves more than they spend, who is concerned about how they're going to make sure that they die the same day their money runs out, that their retirement is going to be pleasant and perhaps even lucrative and enjoyable. If you've got a 401k offering that's when you retire is going to be a nice sum of money for you, or you want to offer a 401k to your employees, many people that listen are in that role, I want you to contact Sandifer Wealth. You can find them at sandiferwealth.com. Mark Salyers, Jamie Sandifer, two of the nicest guys I know, eager to listen to you and understand what your issues are, and most importantly, help you in a way that'll make you feel real good about the decision you make. Now, sandiferwealth.com, find their website, give them a call, and on the website is a place to interact with them if that's what you would prefer to do. When we come back, I'm going to have Blair Fisher on the line with me. We're going to talk about this phenomenon in education and what it means for you and me. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, back after this.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Now offering the purchase of the Stella Artois Chalice, a beautiful stemmed glass with the Stella logo. The purchase of each Stella Artois Chalice provides 5 years of clean water for someone in one of 13 developing countries around the world. Learn more at stellaartois.com. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
I'm Eric Cromwell. The law firm of Cromwell & Associates can help guide your decisions regarding the life you've created with estate planning tools like wills and trusts. We've planned meetings with first-generation business owners and large multi-generational family groups. With locations in Mobile and Fairhope, we can assist you and your family through every stage of life. To learn more, call 251-605-9075 or find Cromwell & Associates on Facebook.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I'm right here in Mobile to help you select the right protection at the right price. I'll make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With me as your State Farm agent, it's easy to make the right choice. You can come by, call, or click AllisonHorner.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in the studio with Blair Fisher. Blair is the head of school at St. Paul's Episcopal School here in Mobile. However, the topic today is not St. Paul's. It's education trends, particularly the impact on young men and ultimately older men as they move through education and into the marketplace. Blair, thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Happy to be here, Cam. Thanks.
So when you and I were together watching the awards day, and I don't know the numbers exactly, but I bet it was an 11 or 12 to 1 female getting an award to male getting award. And I looked at you after that event and said, what's going on here? I'm not suggesting that the boys need an easier path, but I've never seen it weighted so heavily towards the females. Let's start there. What's going on here?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on, Cam. I very much appreciate the chance to chat. This is a huge topic, and I think something that's really important nationally, as we work into the years ahead, is what is in many ways is becoming to be called the crisis in boys' education and just boys in general. So what you saw and what became the catalyst for this conversation today, I guess, or from your end, is the fact that girls, which is terrific, are doing really, really well in education, and all the way from pre-K all the way through college and postgraduate education, and the boys really are struggling in many ways. What you saw was just a sample of what a bigger trend that you see nationally around the country and has been going on for many years, which is that girls are thriving in the educational scene and that boys are really struggling.
Why? I want to tell it through a narrative, through a story. So you've brought data. I'm interested in digging into that data and showing what it reflects. But I want to talk also about the implications of this further on. So let's begin with and we'll just pick an age. A kid comes in, a boy comes into preschool. What is he going to see? And is that where this problem begins?
Well, the first I want to say is what I'm going to relate to. These are broad trends, and that there are. I'm speaking in generalities because every situation is unique, of course. But the data, when you look at it, it is very clear. The single biggest factor that'll determine not only how well that the boy is likely to do in school, even before he hits school, is does he have are there strong positive male role models in his or her life? Typically a father, but if not a father in the home, then having good male role modeling around is crucial for male development and female development too, truthfully. So I do want to say before I start that there's no bashing here or anything. All I'm trying to do is make sure that we're lifting up all of our kids and providing an environment where all of our children, boys and girls, can thrive. So assuming that if there's a healthy home life going on, then when the young boy hits school, what he is going to find is women in his teaching environment. In the
role models, in the leadership environment, it's entirely women. Now, like you said, there's nothing wrong with this. But we're trying to see through that boy's point of view.
Correct.
So there's nothing wrong with the women in leadership position. Let's make sure that that's clear. But as it shapes this boy, all right, so let's go on. He enters school at pre-K, let's say, and he finds an environment full of females.
Statistically speaking, he will have female teachers for pre-K, for kindergarten, for first grade, for second grade, for third grade, for fourth grade, for fifth grade. He will typically start to see some male teaching influences in middle school, and then in high school, the numbers tend to be more even, more 40-60 male-female, and then on from there. But and again, there's nothing wrong with it except that that being in a feminized environment, and I know that there's landmines all over the place here.
Polarizing term.
But I'm trying to speak what the data says.
Sure.
Which the environment that in a typical educational institution is set for, and it's a natural thing. Female teachers are females, and they're wired in a way. Men and women are not wired the same way, and so the setting tends to be a setting that unless there's significant sort of intentional counter training or countering to what is natural for female teachers, is it's going to be an environment that is conducive to female success. And again, I know this. I hope I'm not triggering people, but this is a reality that we have to accept.
Give me an example.
Well, boys are naturally much more active than girls. I'm speaking in generalities. They're active. They're competitive. competitive. They're louder. They don't have the same attention span typically. They don't have the same ability to sit still for long periods of time. They need to be up and moving. They need to be active, or else they'll find it they'll either engage in behaviors oftentimes that are construed as misbehaving or negative behaviors, when it's really them not being able to control their energy level, or they will simply come to believe that school is not for them and shut down and see school as something that for girls.
Because what they want to do, they're being punished for, they're being set aside for, their natural inclinations, which could be simply the explanation is the presence of testosterone in 100%. This young boy. Mm-hmm. His natural inclination is to be louder, to be a little bit raucous, to push and shove his buddies like we see little boys doing. And in that moment, the teacher, who is a female in this case, is saying that's wrong. That behavior is wrong. If Correct. You continue to do that behavior, you're going to get punished. And the long-term result is, I can't succeed here. School is not for me.
Correct. You've hit it in a nutshell. Yeah.
So this is in the first, second, third, fourth grade. The die is already cast. And this kid may go all the way through high school saying, I don't belong here. And is that what we saw at Awards Day at St. Paul's on that day?
I think that what you see is girls mature earlier than boys do. This is a multivariate issue, right? There's no single factor at play. But girls also mature earlier than boys. That's just a fact. They are able to typically maintain attention for longer periods of time than boys. They're able to sit and do the type of behaviors that are rewarded by typical teachers better than boys are. They also tend to want to please more on average. A girl is more pleasing oriented than a boy is for the people in her life or the authority figures in her life. All of these tend to combine into an area where the classroom environment tends to be conducive to female success. The teachers tend to be reward more female typical behavior. And the girls, because they are more mature in the first place, tend to be able to see further down the road as far as the impact their behaviors have now on what their future might be.
My goodness, you've just described my household. We've got two boys and two girls, and that's exactly the household there. So if the teachers are aware of this, I can easily imagine a female teacher saying, yeah, I hear you, but I can't let this class go crazy. I've got to maintain some sense of control. And while they may logically understand this, I can certainly see some pushback to a teacher who's being advised, let the boys push and shove and be loud and disrupt and be messy. And they say, absolutely not. That's not what success looks like to me. Right. So as a position of influence, as the head of school, you've got to probably deliver this message to an audience that says, no, I hear you, but that's not the way I run my show.
Well, structurally, what you have to do is you can either work with the nature of the children in front of you or against the nature of the children in front of you. And so it does not take huge alterations in a schedule in order to create an environment where boys can be successful. There are the importance of recess or allowing kids to get up and move around on a regular basis is crucial. Really, what I try to relate to teachers is that, I say this sort of semi-tongue-in-cheek, but with a layer of grain of truth behind it, is boys are not defective girls. They're different than girls. Yeah. And so if you have a class of boys and girls in front of you, then it's your responsibility as a teacher to recognize the differences structurally that exist in between males and females from a hormonal and a developmental aspect. And if you are a caring, loving adult who cares about the success of all your children, you set your classroom in a way that is designed structurally to allow the boys to have what they need in order to thrive.
There are a couple of instances, as my wife and I were talking about this conversation last night, where we can remember our sons being in classes with teachers who got the boys. And my wife said she stepped into one of those classes today and said, this place is chaos. However, those boys thrived in there. Their grades were. The teachers did not lower the tests or anything like that so the boys could succeed. The boys stepped up to the challenges in those environments. Another one of the teachers, my wife reminded me, could read the room with expertise and say, all right, everybody up, dance party, and allow these kids to move, and would sit them back down, regain their attention, and it would go back on again. quickly before the break, in a minute, tell the story that you told me about your wife, who's also an educator, who realized something was going on.
So my wife and I taught at a school called the Walker School in suburban Atlanta many years ago, and she was a math teacher. And Walker had single gender math classes at the middle school level. So they had all boys or all girls math classes. Obviously, my wife is a woman, and she had an all boy math class, and they were bonking off each other. They were constantly up and down. They were driving her crazy. She was always telling him to sit down, to be quiet. It was driving her nuts because she felt like the class was out of control. Then she realized that their math grades were higher than the all-girl math class that sat quietly, and they were thriving when she allowed them to be active. And that's when it hit her that she was the one with the problem in that class, not the boys, that the boys were doing what boys do. And so she apologized to them and asked them what they needed, and they said, we like to compete with each other. We like to be loud. We need to be up and moving. So she allowed the boys to stand up, to move around. She worked more competitive games into the class setting, and in the end, the boys soared. They had our highest grades that she ever had for that year when she met the boys where they were.
Let's pick this up after break, and I want to talk about how this behavior may appear in the high school years as well as college years, and then most importantly for my audience, what does this mean for the workplace? We'll be back after this. I'm with Blair Fisher. He's head of school at St. Paul's. We're talking about the issue of boys in education today. We'll be right back.
I'm Paul Lewis, General Manager for Lewis Construction. Many of our commercial buildings you drive by daily on both sides of the bay are the fruits of our client relationship since our beginning in the early 80s. It is our mission to bring value to our clients, from retrofits to ground-up construction and everything in between. We have more advocates than any of our competitors who have been in business twice as long. Same with repeat business, same with referrals. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com and let's talk about your next commercial project.
Hi, I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing in downtown Mobile. We make drinkable, flavorful craft beer perfect for life on the Gulf Coast. So pick up one of our six-packs before your next adventure, or stop by our tap room for a relaxing afternoon with friends. Follow us on social media for the latest beer releases and events, and ask for a Braided River at your favorite bars and restaurants. Thanks for your support. We look forward to sharing our beers with you.
This is Cam Marston, and I'm with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, if a homeowner thinks they have termites, do you offer inspections? What about someone buying a new home? Can you come in and take a look and see if there are termites in their new home?
Yeah, basically what we would do on a home above and beyond anyone else is we actually do a thorough inspection. But above that, we will use infrared imaging that will allow us to see problems in the wall, and at times can tell us if there's anything going on.
That's fantastic, Cajun Mike. How can people find you?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
King Solomon wrote, "Without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors, they succeed." The law firm of Cromwell and Associates has the legal counsel that can help your business succeed, with experience in LLCs, corporations, and tax. I'm Eric Cromwell. Our law firm has locations in Mobile and Fairhope. Call 251-605-9075 or search for Cromwell and Associates on Facebook. And let's discuss how we can help you.
Blair Fisher is with me. He's the head of school at St. Paul's Episcopal School here in Mobile. We're not here to talk about St. Paul's, though. We're here to talk about the trends we're seeing of boys as they struggle through education. It comes through me sitting through an awards presentation at that school where for about a 10 or 11 to 1 ratio, the females got awards versus the males. And by no means are we implying that we should lower the standards of the males so that they can hit their awards. I want to know, where is the motivation of boys in academics today, and what are the implications of that? Blair, prior to the break, we were talking about grade school and these kids coming through and not having a male influence perhaps in their lives, but very likely not having a male influence in their classrooms. Let's move forward. They're in high school and they're in college. What are they going to see there?
Well, fortunately, in many ways, they're going to see as they move through the grades, they're going to see more and more male teachers as they get older, which is really helpful for them. So that's a positive thing. The issue or the challenge that comes into play is the fact that for many of them, by that point, for too many of them, education they've already been lost, if that makes sense. And again, especially in settings where they may not have the resources that an independent school may have, or that a wealthy suburban school may have. In urban and rural schools, the results are catastrophic before they even get to high school often.
Can you share some of the statistics you've brought regarding the boys and some of the direction these statistics point? Sure.
And so these are very what I believe are probably stats that are going to be shocking to people. Boys are 50% less likely to be proficient in reading and math and science. Boys are diagnosed with ADHD at anywhere between 3 and 7 times the rate as girls. They consume the vast majority of ADHD meds. The boys' dropout rate is 1.5 times the rate as girls, and for some subsets of society, it's even worse than that. They're twice as likely to be diagnosed with learning disabilities. They account for 70% of D's and F's in school. They're 3 times as likely to be suspended from school or face other major discipline. And girls increasingly, as you saw, dominate awards, but they also dominate the AP classes, dominate student government, dominate many of the positive attributes as well within a school.
The statistics they take your breath away. Is it too simple to say all this would change if there were a father figure at home? All this would change if there were male role models in the earlier parts of their academic life?
It's the single biggest factor. Again, it's a multivariate issue, but the research is very clear that boys and girls need strong male positive role modeling, but boys especially. Without it, they don't know how to be a man. A mother cannot teach her child how to be a man, how to be a good man, how to be a positive male. That's something that they're not equipped to do. It's just like a father. Fathers are crucially important. And again, I know that I'm stepping on a lot of trip mines here, but I can't not speak for boys because I'm the father of 2 sons myself. I'm an educator who cares about boys and girls. I don't want in any way to take away from girls' education, but boys. The concept that education is somehow failing girls right now, it's not the case. It is females are very successful in school right now as compared to boys, and so I'm trying to find a both and, not an either or.
So let's move into high school. These boys are in high school. They are now getting some exposure to male role models, whether it be coaches or teachers or all of the above. But your comment was at this point, they may be lost. How many of these boys can be reclaimed or is the foundation of their educational life, grade school, elementary school, middle school, is that just too critical, such that when they're in high school and if they're lost, we can't reclaim them?
I'm not sure, frankly, on that. I think I'm an optimist by heart, and I believe that I've seen too many times where kids have turned things around with the right type of incentives and role modeling and structures and scaffolding around them. So I don't think it's ever a lost cause. But I think that the further they go through their education, not feeling like successful or not feeling like school is for them, the numbers increase of the quitters increase more and more. So I'm not sure if those quitters can be turned around or not. I will say that if you look at our prisons are full of they're 93% male, the prison populations, and somewhere between 70 and 85% of the prison population are are men who did not have fathers in the homes, which is just stunning. Yeah,
no kidding. It really is. How long ago did this begin to rear its head?
This has been around for a while. I think it's a countercultural narrative right now. So I think that it's not gained the traction it should have gained. But there have been experts speaking out on the challenges of this for several decades now. But it just seems like it has a hard time gaining traction.
It does have an arc. It's against the pop culture grain right now, because if you turn on the TV, most of the let's say members of Congress are male, but people in the traditional historic leadership roles, most of the CEOs of this nation are male. And if you were to look through those lenses exclusively, you'd say this isn't a problem. In fact, females are underrepresented. We need to give more attention to the females. However, the data suggests that the females are excelling in the academic world, and it's somewhere between the academic world and the CEO suite, they take a different tack, which is a different conversation for a different day. Our focus today being these boys, and the lack of drive is what I see, the lack of desire to excel, the lack of desire to push themselves academically. Now, they're out there, but they're many fewer than they used to be. I cite a statistic in my presentations, which are largely, many of them are to financial advisors, and they say, what's the future look like? And I say, it's going to be female dominated in affluence building, because all the behaviors of affluence building today are largely being captured and reflected back by the female population and not the male. So let's move on into the conversation to say, all right, so fewer of them are, is it logical to say fewer of them are going to college? Is it?
Oh, yeah. Let me pull up my one stat here that I thought was really interesting. So here's in higher education. In 1970, the percentage of college freshmen that were male were 58% male and 42% female. In 2020, it's inverted completely. It's 60% female, 40% male. And so it's a 3-2 margin. In graduate education, the numbers are even more pronounced. Graduates, so for master's in college, or master's and doctoral level degree programs, it's now it's projected that by 2030, in 2020, it's 62% female, 38% male. By 2030, if the trend lines hold, it'll be 2/3, literally 67 to 33. So there will be literally twice as many females coming out with advanced degrees than males.
And again, what we want to see is the pendulum set in the middle.
Ideally, what we want to have a system in place where people can thrive in whatever their dreams are, that they can find ways to find meaning and value in their life and contribute and be happy and productive members of society. There's other issues that come into play, obviously, with globalization and automation and artificial intelligence. The jobs that have traditionally been male jobs where non-highly educated men could find productive, meaningful work that made them feel like good providers, which is a strong male desire to provide.
To be a contributor to the family.
If those are going away, then what you're left with is a mass of poorly educated young men or middle-aged men into the future who do not have the skill sets that they need to be productive members of society, and that's a recipe for disaster for any society.
Let's pick that up after the break. My listeners are largely business people in some position of influence in their businesses. There's a hiring desperation right now. And I would suspect many of them are out there saying we have historically hired men. We're now trying to find anybody we can. What do we need to know? Let's draw this narrative into the next chapter of this young man's life on the other side of college when we get back from break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in the studio today with Blair Fisher. He's head of school at St. Paul's. We're talking about boys in education, and when we come back, what it means after the education is complete.
At Roy Lewis Construction, we're in the business of adding value. Whether it's working with you to meet your unique business needs or making investments in our community in lasting ways, providing unparalleled value and quality in every commercial construction project. When planning your next commercial project, reach out to Roy Lewis Construction. We'll pair you with a designer that best suits your project needs and work with that designer to balance the best architectural outcome with the best budget outcome. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, building legacies one relationship at a time.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing. We want beer that goes along no matter where the adventure takes us and that doesn't make us choose between great beer and drinkability. We're drawn to the Delta and united by beer because to us, the best way to celebrate the Delta is to slow down and savor the moments and the beer together. Come visit our tap room in downtown Mobile and ask for us at your favorite bar or restaurant. Visit online at braidedriverbrewing.com.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Blair Fisher is the head of school at St. Paul's Episcopal School here in Mobile. He, though, while certainly being attuned to everything on that campus, he follows the trends in education, which is what we're talking about here today. And what we're seeing is the drop-off of, and this is my term, not his, the aggressiveness of boys in school. And our conversation has touched on elementary to high school, and now we're going to pick up on what this means for our society once that boy is now trying to enter the workforce. Blair, what does this kid look like now? What is his motivations? How does he see the world? And what does this mean for the workplace?
There's a saying that a lot of young men are stuck in guy land, which is somewhere like a gray zone between child and adult where they're not fully adultified.
Peter Pandemonium,
sure.
Adultolescence. There's a lot of terms I've heard for it.
Yeah, that's the basement. The failure to launch syndrome. Mm-hmm. The young man, the 20-something, still living at home in the basement, video gaming, without motivation, without a direction in life, without a sense of a plan in life, just sort of floating through life, passing time in a sad, kind of broken sort of way. And that's the rudderless young man is actually a really dangerous thing for a society.
And they're not as uncommon as we may think. In fact, it was one of my neighbors several years ago who said, we told our son that he had to move out and he's got to get a job. And he said, well, I'm just going to sleep in my car in the park. And the parents said, once he said that, we thought, well, we can't kick him out if that's his motivation. Their concern was, how do we get this kid launched?
Right.
And this is going on out there.
Much more widespread than people think.
So let's pick it up. So he's living in the basement, is a rudderless child. He's in guy land. He's in Peter Pandemonium. He's going to find a job. Is he not going to find a job? Is he going to find a spouse who may be very well much more educated than him? Is the spouse going to have any interest in this guy?
No. Here's another big tripwire that is going to make some people angry, but it is shown throughout history and it shows to still be accurate that women tend to want to marry equal or to partner equal or up in the social hierarchy. That's just it's a normal, natural phenomenon, and so a highly educated, successful woman is very unlikely to find the basement dweller to be an exciting match for her.
Sure.
And so in the end, what you have is you have a growing pool of successful, educated women, which is a great thing. Again, this is not an either or. But what they find is a smaller and projecting forward, they will have a smaller and smaller pool of acceptable men, to whom to partner with. And you actually are starting to see this reflected in the data where a third of all young women between the ages of 20 and 29, a third say they're not even sure if they want to have children. Many of about the same number say they're not even sure if they ever want to get married. Well, this has, the nuclear family is the building block for a stable society. And so again, I look at it from an education standpoint. The role of education is to help create, the building blocks, the individuals for whom a functional society can be built upon. and to pass forward education, but also to continue to elevate the nation. That's the goal of education. And we're not doing a good job nationally in many different ways in that regard. But from a future pair bonding or a future generational health, workplace health, overall societal economic health, the trend lines are not good if we don't get if we don't figure out how to address the boy crisis.
The boy crisis. And again, folks, it's not that we are discriminating against the females. There's an underpinning to society, which is a healthy male, just like there's an underpinning society to the healthy female, and we're finding that those healthy males are getting harder and harder to find. So this young man, at what point, Blair, does he say it's unfair? Or whatever his cry is. This is unfair. I can't find a female that's interested in me. I wasn't good at school. That's not my fault. I can't find a good job. The job prospects, I'm getting passed over in my job. I'm perhaps working for many different females. None of the males are getting this. I'm making things up here. At what point does he cry out, it's unfair, and what happens then?
Well, a lot of them start crying out that it's unfair. Well, first of all, again, I'm speaking in very broad brushstrokes. I'm looking at all the individuals combined into a single broad pattern. But for many of them, they start to believe that life is somehow stacked against them, even in the middle school and high school level, and that's where your dropouts occur. That's where your angry young men come from, and angry, alienated, rudderless, bleak young men who don't feel like they have a future are, when you combine that with testosterone and aggression and anger, that tends to be a natural thing for boys more than girls. Girls tend to express anger inwardly. Boys tend to express anger outwardly. And that is something that, again, I don't want to be too melodramatic, but if people wonder where school shooters come from or where the rage, where they feel like they're going to check themselves out of the world, but they're going to take their anger out on the world as they go, and there's a reason why those numbers are exploding.
And it's the boys that are perpetuating this.
When's the last time you heard of a female school shooter?
That's exactly right. I'm not sure that I've ever heard of a mass shooting that was conducted by a female. I'm not an expert in these things, but none come immediately to mind. And is it too oversimplifying things to say that the common element of these young men who have reached this crisis point and are taking it out in their workplace, the recipe is the same for each one of them?
It's overwhelmingly again and again and again and again and again, when they look at the background of the individual involved, again and again and again, you see lack of positive, strong male role modeling. It is probably the determining factor in 90% of them. I heard in California, for example, in the last 20 years, 25 years, they've built 18 new prisons. One university, 18 prisons. The male population, prison population in California, as one example, has increased by 700% in the last 2 decades. And it mirrors almost exactly the rise of fatherless homes.
So let's try to fix this in the 3 minutes that we have remaining. There is a question that I'm asked outside of this conversation is, Cam, lots of men retiring these days. Lots of men, and this is financial services people. Again, that's a big part of my work. Lots of guys out there retiring. They got their 401k. They suddenly have time on their hands and they lack purpose. Workplace used to provide their purpose. Is it oversimplifying to say, hey, maybe we can get some of these retirees, these male retirees, to somehow enter the school system? My suspicion is there would be an outcry. For some reason, that these men are being allowed into the school system without an education degree, without having paid their dues. However, with what we're talking about, is it a fix?
I think there's a lot of different things we could do as a society if we came to accept that the problem exists, right? I think that is one. Really, what you're talking about is any person can help who cares. There's Big Brother programs, student mentor programs, where men who have time and the desire and availability can mentor younger males or young boys or adolescents to try to give them the positive male role modeling that they may lack. I think there's a lot of different. It's a multivariate issue with a lot. Then that means solutions are multivariate as well. I think first of all, schools need to recognize that there's nothing wrong with competition, with activity, with physicality. aggression. Frankly, it's how young boys and males are wired, and it needs to be channeled, not suppressed. Right. That's why athletic programs are so important for young boys or for adolescent boys. Recess is important. Schools can be set up to when they look at boys tend to not be as verbal as girls, and so through rough and tumble play, it's how boys socialize, it's how they learn their behavioral boundaries. Classrooms should be set up where there's active time built into the classroom on a regular basis. We need more men in education. That is a huge aspect of I don't know whether that's socially that governmental programs or universities actually find ways to incentivize men to consider an education degree or to get into the education field through financial incentives. A fascinating thing that I read a statistic that black boys, if a black boy has a black male teacher at any point during their career, their dropout rates are cut by like 2/3.
Wow.
Like just one in their career, in
black
their education
boy with
career.
A black male teacher.
Yeah, one with a black teacher in general that shows that education can be for someone like him. Their dropout rates cut significantly by almost half. But if it's a black male teacher, it cuts by 2/3. I think single gender classes some of the time could be something that's considered. Educating female teachers on typical boy behavior and expecting them to set that up for success. There is a ton of different things. And bluntly, we should be doing everything we can to encourage two-parent households, not one-parent households.
Real quick, we're out of time, but I want to hear your thoughts on if you could say something to employers. What do they need to know?
That's a tough one. I hadn't really thought of that. I think that if they have the bandwidth as an employer to try to find ways to mentor young men within the workforce. Whether that's an older male, successful male within the workforce, someone where they can find ways to help young men figure out how to be successful and how to give them guidance. I think helping them develop a structured success plan. There's a great program out there called self-authoring, where and it's good for men and women, by the way, as you write your life ahead of time, what you want your life to look like, and you write of the life you're running towards, but you also write what life would look like if you're not doing what you need to be doing and running away, sort of running towards the heaven that you're after in your life as close as you can get it, but also running away from the hell that you can create if you don't.
Yeah.
And so self-authoring programs are really valuable, I think, as well. Really within the workplace is trying to find mentors for young men and helping them find out how to be successful. What does positive masculinity look like? What does it look like to have a plan in life? That's what comes to my mind at the top of my head.
You're the father of two boys. I'm the father of two boys and two girls, and this is an issue that has caught my attention that I intend to pursue in some way or another to see what's going on out there. Thank you very much, Blair.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on, Ken.
Blair's the head of school at St. Paul's. We're talking about trends in education. We'll be right back after this break with final comments.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stellas. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
This is Cam Marston with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, houses on pilings can have termites eat their way up inside the piling and enter the house. The homeowner never knows about it, but your company offers protection. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Cam. Basically, what we have designed is a program, and what we do is we will actually drill to the center of the piling and put a product in the center that will stop the termites from coming up into the home.
Stucco exteriors as well?
Correct.
How can people find you, Cajun Mike?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
Hey, this is Cam. Thanks for listening, and I hope you're really enjoying the podcast. Do me a favor and search for Cam Marston on your social media outlets and like us or follow us or whatever is the right thing to do. Also, if you know others who'd benefit from the podcast, please forward it on to them and encourage them to listen. If you're so inclined, we'd love your rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Those ratings matter. Finally, don't be a stranger. Email me with your comments, your feedback, your thoughts, your show ideas, whatever. Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. I'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you very much for listening. Now, back to the show. On the line with me is Natalie Franklin of the Community Foundation of South Alabama. Natalie, prime meeting space is hard to find. Tell me what you guys got going on.
Hey, Cam. Thanks so much for having me on. We are very excited to offer our new community center space to the community. A large part of the foundation's mission is to bolster philanthropy and convene community leaders. So with all of that in mind, we are very excited to announce that we are offering our meeting space free of charge to nonprofits during business hours.
Wow, that's very generous. What about other types of businesses? What if somebody wants to hold a workshop or a seminar there?
Yeah, that's great too. We welcome for-profit businesses to use the space at a reasonable fee.
Where are you located as people are thinking about meetings and events and they're wanting to know how they can find you and whether it's convenient for their attendees? Give us a sense of where you're located.
Yeah, we're in downtown Mobile. Our address is 212 St. Joseph Street, right across the street from the post office. So we have a great location. The building is perfect. It's very modern, very sleek, and we also have on-site parking, which is a huge bonus for downtown Mobile.
No kidding. Somebody showed me a picture of your reception space on the roof with the views. Tell me about that.
Yes, the rooftop is so exciting. It's called the Magnolia Roof Terrace, and it offers beautiful views of downtown Mobile, and it accommodates about 105 people, so it is a great space for receptions, cocktail parties, board meetings, things like that.
Tell people how they can find you, Natalie.
Just go to our website. It's www.communityfoundationsa.org. You'll see all the information on there. My email address is on there. So if anyone's interested in using the space, please reach out to us. We're very excited. We want the community using this space. www.communityfoundationsa for SouthAlabama.org, and from there they can find you. Thanks, Natalie. Appreciate you offering that to the public. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the opportunity, Cam.
Let's get back to Blair Fisher real quick and the conversation he and I had. It's occurred to me, and I suppose I'm not the first one that's thought of this, that there may be a great opportunity somewhere for retirees to fill this male role model gap. One of the things that I've learned in my work for my financial services clients as they begin to discuss retirement with their clients is that there needs to be a purpose as particularly males move into retirement. They need to have a purpose, a goal, a mission, something that drives them. There's only so much golf you can play. There's only so much travel you can do before you need a purpose to drive you. And being that positive male role model in the lives of so many youth could be it. For businesses out there that are listening, that are thinking, hey, maybe we should give back to our community somehow. What do? How about figuring out this role model thing? Exposing your male employee base to some of the kids that need this type of influence. I've been shocked by the number of them that need it. The significance of having this positive male role model in the life of this kid manifests itself when they become an adult. I hope it's something that you'll consider out there if you're thinking about giving back. It's a real problem, and it concerns me. That will wrap us up for this week, everybody. Find the show on whatsworkingcam.com. That's where you'll find the podcast. You can check me out on social media. Search for Cam Marston. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a TikTok account, but it's sad. Very, very sad. However, I wanted to claim the name. You can send us information, suggest guests, etc. Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. Always enjoy hearing from you. If you subscribe through Apple Podcasts, please go to that site and rate the show. That stuff helps. Show is produced by John Thompson with Eyon Digital, E-Y-E-O-N Digital. He's worth checking out. Goodness knows he's a great ally of mine, and we couldn't do it without him. That's it, folks. Have a good week.